Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you can be here. I really apologize about the lighting, but I'm just not always able to get these done during the day, so I just had to film this at night. Again, my name is Claire and I live full-time in my car with my dog Parker. He's back there, he's playing. In this video, I do want to talk about the cops. A subscriber, I think your name was Robert, asked a very good question. Am I afraid of the cops? What about the cops? Is it stressful? And the answer to that question is yes and no. Basically, where I'm going with this is I really tend to focus more on like the ordinances and the laws than I do the cops. Now, I'm always going to be like a little bit nervous around a police officer. Not always, but sometimes. I remember once I had a headlight out and I hadn't gotten it repaired, and I was just always so worried, like, okay, like, is the cop gonna pull me over? And I was just always so stressed out about it until I got it fixed. So basically, where I am sleeping in my car, that's gonna have a lot of bearing on my awareness of cops, whether that's fear or whether it's just appreciation for patrolling the area. That's gonna really play into it. Now, at this point, there isn't really a lot of laws that just blanket, banning sleeping in your car. However, if you are in Virginia Beach, the city of Virginia Beach, for example, it is actually illegal to sleep in your car. There's a citywide ban against a ban of sleeping in your car. So yes, if I were in the city of Virginia Beach, I would be pretty stressed out about parking and the cops and police, and I would be more stressed about it because I know that I'm not supposed to be doing it. I'm also very aware of like any kind of signage. For example, I do see some signs at rest areas that say no car camping. And I interpret that as like camping. Like if I had a pop-up, like, popping up my tent or starting to grill or kind of engaging in camp-like behaviors, and I would go ahead and overnight park. But if a sign does say no overnight parking, then I'm gonna respect that. Now, there have been like emergencies where like I was in a rest area once and it said 3-hour parking and I was sick, like I had a high fever and I really just was not comfortable going on the road. I was really sick. And in that case, I was, I guess, a little bit more aware like of police presence or something. But if I'm like in an area where there's not like an ordinance or a law that I'm aware of or signs that say no overnight parking, I'm generally not going to be worried about it. I was a little bit anxious in the state of Tennessee. I don't know if you all are aware of this. Some of you, I'm sure you are. But there is like a statewide ban on sleeping in your car in Tennessee. And in Eastern Tennessee, I find that it's a little bit more relaxed. I have been traveling once and I've just been forced to pull over because, I'm just too tired. And it's just not a very relaxed atmosphere, even just at the truck stops in Tennessee because of that law. So that's gonna be really like a main thing. Now, a lot of the areas that I would park at, if I'm going to get in trouble with the police, then there's going to be a lot of people who are going to get in trouble with the police. Because I do tend to park, without giving away where I park, I do tend to park where there's going to be other vans, RVs, people doing the same thing that I'm doing. So I guess a lot of people will get in trouble at once. Have I ever been bothered by the police? There was one time when I had just started sleeping in my car. It was in my Corolla. And I was off like at a hospital. I was kind of like in like a very quiet, dark corner of a hospital. And I think back in those days, I kind of had this strategy where like, okay, well, if I need to go to the most, remote corner and where it's dark and no one will notice me. But it's actually turned out to be the opposite. And today I would be much more inclined to park like, in a busy ER setting or something like that if I were going to sleep at a hospital. And I was completely asleep, and I heard a knock on the window. And I just remember so well the police officer, he said, don't lie to me. Are you sleeping in your car? And, yeah. And he said, hold on, I can't have you sleeping in your car in the hospital. And I don't think he ever would have noticed me, but he told me that he saw my dog, Daisy at the time, was moving around my car, and he could have just been concerned about my dog, what was going on, did somebody need help? So I don't think he was like out there like trying to find people to, to bother because they were sleeping in their car. And before I left, he actually told me, if it means anything to you, I never would have noticed you sleeping in there, so don't worry about it, basically. Like kind of, I just noticed, the dog moving around. Recently, I talked to a homeless woman, and she was living in her car, and she actually told me that the police in this area of Virginia actually referred her to the Walmart parking lot to stay. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But again, it's going to depend on the area, because that would not be okay in the city of Virginia Beach, for example. I think it could be a problem where there's a citywide ban. As far as it being stressful just in general to find parking places, it can be stressful. I would say there's certain like variables that play into it. They're going to make it more or less stressful. One thing is that if I'm just constantly traveling, it's going to be a lot easier, because there's going to be, the closer you are to like the interstate, I find that like the simpler it's going to be. The more truck stops, the more just kind of travel culture, the more trucks, just the more coming and going. When you get further away from the interstate and you're more in like, local towns, I feel like that's when, you may be noticed more. I do find it more challenging when I'm staying in one place, but I do find that the busier I am, the more that I'm working, the more that I'm just going on with my life, it doesn't seem to be as much of an issue. I think, if I have too much time on my hands and I'm just kind of hanging around places, then I'm more like aware of myself, and I don't know, but it really has not been an issue. So I think it's a great question. I really am not afraid of the cops. I know that I'm aware of the laws as much as I can be. So I do, but like to answer your question, yeah, it's yes and no. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope that answers your question. And please keep the questions coming. I really enjoy talking about this. I realize this is kind of a rapidly evolving area, like, the jurisdictions, like the laws. It's very interesting to me. I'm very interested in this kind of stuff. So please keep watching, comment, question, like the video, share the video if you want to. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe so that you can, you'll know when a video comes out. And again, feel free to email me if you have other questions. Thank you so much.